something very strange happened with a post that the president made about cryptocurrency. That's like, if this happens, what else are you going to say? This could be exponentially explosive. Like Julian Assange in 2011, 2012 accepts donations in Bitcoin. What? Why would he accept Bitcoin? He does. Winklevoss twins, they like Bitcoin. Yeah, those are the Facebook guys, right? Yeah. Richard Branson likes Bitcoin. Richard Branson, Elon Musk in 2014, first time he tweeted about it. Then in 2020, 2021, he bought $1.5 billion of Bitcoin with Tesla. Bill Gates initially said good things. Now he's critical about it. Then you think about institutions when they came in. 2020, MicroStrategy buys $250 million of Bitcoin. What? Why would he buy so much Bitcoin? Then Morgan Stanley, then others started getting involved. Then BlackRock starts a Bitcoin ETF, 150,000 Bitcoins they buy.
Yes, you read that right. One man inside the US government could be setting up the biggest Bitcoin pump in history. And this isn't clickbait. It's bigger than most people realize. I'm talking about the US Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. I'm talking about his web of connections that puts him right in the middle of a shadow network of whales holding nearly 600,000 Bitcoin. So why is someone with that much power building a $2 billion Bitcoin machine? And what does Tether have to do with all of this? And is the US government actually planning a sovereign wealth fund to back all of this up?
Now, to be that Donald Trump and his economic team's intention is to expand the money supply without expanding the money supply, with the foundation being Bitcoin, and by doing this, force for the mortgage rates to go down, therefore bringing money from retail buyers and investors off the sidelines, which could cause a real estate economic boom. Man, we're going to talk about all of this on Real Estate Friday Live Day, man. Let's get in this thing. You see that thing, baby? Let's go.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. 40 days, God, I've been Swayze. Grew the beard out, that ain't shady. That's a bird, man, I ain't baby. Talking whole pie, that's so crazy. How I got a shot, raise the bean sprout up, put a crown up on her head so the boys seeing, no, that's a lady. If you ain't catch a double that time on the last rhyme, dog, I could help you. I got plenty more where that came from. When I brainstorm, I need shelter. It's enough.
What's good, baby? It's your boy Dale. I'm back in the saddle again. Our motto is to buy, build. We already bought it already, so we already own it, free and clear. Refinance to long-term debt, cash flow. That is the motto. Cliff, man, is that a pretty strong motto, man? What do you think?
Man, the model is strong. Like, you're getting each piece of the invest, right?
What it do, y'all? It's your partner Dale. Click back in the saddle again for another edition of Real Estate Friday Live, man. Every single Friday at 5 p.m. CST, guys. We're a little bit late today, guys. We're talking some business today. Cliff, how you doing, big time? You doing all right, baby?
Yeah, man. Doing good, doing good.
Yes, and I was with, man. Did we get the bag?
Oh, yeah. You know we got the bag, man. So
Every
it's a
time.
very good week.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
good. We got that week. Yes, sir, baby, man. I got a good week coming this week and next week, guys. Got two business models I'm looking at, kind of rolling out, which is great for me. One is going to be very cash flow friendly for your partner, really cash flow friendly, and one's going to be more of a private equity play, which will be pretty good, man. Also, I'm going to begin the new construction and for the additional Mississippi properties as well, also, man. So this is going to be good,
Okay.
man. Yes, sir, man. So I'm walk through with that. It may be something, Cliff, that we can actually GC from afar.
Okay.
We can GC from afar, man, just to be able to walk through the process. Because the one thing about it, guys, is, Cliff, we've worked with a lot of local GCs, right?
Mm-hmm.
They good or they trash?
No, they're trash.
They trash. Tell them there was one instance, guys, in Florida to where Cliff, this was the Florida property that I owned, and I think he was painting the stairs, and he came out and said that, yeah, it's gonna be about 10,000. Cliff said, "Wait, what? It's 10,000? Walk me through that pricing." And it went down from 10 down to about 3, real quick. Am I right, Cliff?
Oh yeah. I think the first estimate we had from the dude was like, I forget how much, it's 800,000, something
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
And we had to let that first dude go because I think he said for demo Just
Yeah.
demo, just knocking out, boom, cool. He was like, "Oh, we need $40,000." You don't need no 40,000 to demo.
Yeah, man. But I mean, they just put it out his ass. What's up, Steve? How you doing, Steven, man? But yeah, man, it's something. So this may be something, man, that we could possibly GC from afar, which would be fine. We see what that looks like, or it may be wise just to bring someone to do it. I have a couple people that can do it as well. Also, you see how it goes. See how it goes, man. But man, let's dive into this, man. Cliff, man. Today's topics, man. Real quickly, guys. But before we do that, we haven't done this in a long time. Cliff, you know how we do it. Current. Yeah. Current. This is the current real estate market analysis. Cliff, man. What's going on in the market, man? What you seeing in the market, dog? What you seeing?
Man, I like this, man. Let us know. Y'all like that intro. I like that. We're going to pump that up next time.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. So right now, the market is stagnating, right? It's still going sideways. We're not seeing a lot of high turnover in the market, especially in DFW. I think we're kind of just stalled. I think we're at a base level that we've been at for a while. Ever since the Fed stopped cutting rates,
Yeah.
we kind of went sideways. I am seeing mortgage applications starting to increase a little bit, but not moving the needle.
Yeah.
I think it's possible we could be at a new normal. Interest rates are higher until wages start coming up. It's going to be a new normal because housing is not coming down. A little bit, and in some areas you can see a little drop, but not enough for the increase we've seen over the last 5 years, where it's almost doubled in some areas. So right now, I think we're going to see the same environment. I don't think we're going to see a lot of change. I think this is the new normal. You're going to see rates maybe 6.5 at best.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the new normal. Everybody who got a 4%, 2%, 3%, don't sell that mug. That's the best interest rate you're going to get.
You better keep that thing, baby. Keep that thing, baby. Because if not, baby, it's going to be some problems. Man, I'm seeing kind of the same thing, Cliff.
Yeah.
When it comes to the marketplace stagnant, I'm finding a lot of off-market deals because the on-market deals have been trash. I don't know if you guys get what Cliff and I get. We get a lot of emails from realtors and wholesalers, and these deals is trash. They straight garbage. So you might have to get a little bit more creative on finding those below wholesale properties. But I'm seeing the same thing Cliff is seeing, stagnation. A lot of money's on the sidelines because people cannot afford these interest rates being so high. But we're going to talk about maybe a solution to that here in a second, guys, that may change that entire thing, guys. It's going to be kind of sitting on Bitcoin now. Here's today's topics, guys. We're going to be talking about Trump's secret crypto plan. We went through this last week, right? We're going to kind of go through it a little bit again. Number 2, the $2 billion Bitcoin playbook, right? And the one man that can control it all, right? Number 3, government-backed Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. What you say? 4, how will this move affect the real estate market? So, Cliff, man, let's dive into the first topic, man, real fast, man. Now, first topic, man, is going to be this here. Hold on one second. Nope, not that one. It is the $2 billion play. There is I call this the new era of banking, right? And I'm going to unpack what I think Trump is trying to do and how it may work to drive down interest rates and to bring cash off the sidelines, right? So let's dive into this topic real quickly, guys. This is done by Mark Moss, all right? Mark, what he's doing is he's going to describe what's been taking place right now, guys, via a diagram. And I think, guys, you're gonna like exactly what he's talking about real quickly here. And once you see what he's talking about, it's going to make a lot more sense. So let's dive into this real fast. Here we go.
Yes, you read that right. One man inside the U.S. government could be setting up the biggest Bitcoin pump in history. And this isn't clickbait. It's bigger than most people realize. I'm talking about the U.S. Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. I'm talking about his web of connections that puts him right in the middle of a shadow network of whales holding nearly $6 200,000 Bitcoin. So why is someone with that much power building a $2 billion Bitcoin machine? And what does Tether have to do with all of this? And is the US government actually planning a sovereign wealth fund to back all of this up? Now, real quick on Mark Moss. I've sold multiple tech companies, invested through every boom and bust market for the last 2 decades, and today I'm a partner at a top Bitcoin venture capital fund. I advise public tech companies, and I also publish the Quantum Wave Investment Report, where I help investors profit from the biggest shifts in technology and money before the rest of the world wakes up. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how Lutnick's strategy works, the $2 billion Bitcoin playbook that's unfolding right now, how it ties into 2 potential US Bitcoin programs, yes, government-backed programs, and why this could ignite the most aggressive Bitcoin bull run that we've ever seen. Trust me, this rabbit hole goes deep. So let's go.
Watch this clip. You don't dive into it.
All right, so let's jump right into this. I'm gonna use my whiteboard here on my computer to try to map all this out for you, draw it out for you. Okay, so at the center of all this, we have one man working inside the government, and that is Howard Lutnick. Now, most people don't know who he is, but if you do know, you probably know he's the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. It's an old school Wall Street institution. But what they don't know is that he's also the current U.S. Commerce Secretary, meaning he's not just playing the game. He's not just in Wall Street trying to play along. He's actually in the U.S. government writing the rules. So that's Howard Lutnick. Now, his company is Cantor Fitzgerald. So let's bring this over. As I said, this is an old school Wall Street firm. And Cantor Fitzgerald quietly announced a new Bitcoin financing business. So what they want to do is they want to provide financing or liquidity in the Bitcoin space, specifically for borrowing against your Bitcoin. So they have a $2 billion fund that they've set up to finance people that want to borrow against their Bitcoin, which is great because, as I always say all the time, don't sell your Bitcoin, borrow against it. And that's exactly what...
Now, Cliff, I'm going to stop it for a second right here. I want you to remember the words borrow. Just remember the words borrow, okay?
All right.
Here we go.
they're doing. They've announced they have $2 billion of liquidity for Bitcoin. And let's go ahead and bring Bitcoin over so we have this on our game board as well. So here we have Lutnick, the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, bringing in $2 billion of new liquidity entering the system without triggering any supply-demand metrics.
What?
And then we have Bitcoin right here. So we're starting to see how this is shaping up. Now,
so new money, Cliff, without expanding the money base.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
New money without expanding. So there's no inflationary event because it's just expanding the money base without expanding the money base. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
It can be going.
Now, as I said, Lutnick is in the government. Now, before he was just part of Wall Street, but now he's part of Wall Street and he's in the government and he's writing the policy in order to do this. It's a book right out of Wall Street's financial engineering playbook. By the way, Bitcoin 2025 is coming up in Las Vegas here. I'm going to be there speaking. Come hang out. I'll put a link down below if you want to save some money on tickets and come hang out with me. You never know who's going to be there. Well, I'll be there. Okay, so now here's where it starts getting interesting. Now, Cantor Fitzgerald is an old school Wall Street investment firm. They've invested into many things, like, for example, over here, a very controversial company you might have heard quite a bit about, Tether. Now, Tether is a US dollar stablecoin. It's the oldest US dollar stablecoin, and it's been rumored for years and years and years and years and years to be behind Bitcoin pumping and all of that. I've never believed in any of that. That's a whole nother subject. If I'm going to make a video about that, let me know in the comments down below. But Tether is the largest US dollar stablecoin company, and they hold over 83,000 Bitcoin. Now, who owns a big piece of them? Well, that would be, of course, Cantor Fitzgerald. Yes. Here we have over here, Cantor Fitzgerald owning about 5% of Tether. So Lutnick owns Cantor Fitzgerald, the CEO. They have now launched Bitcoin products, and they also own 5% of Tether over here. Okay, so we're starting to see how this whole thing shapes out.
Yep.
Now, why would this legacy Wall Street firm buy into the biggest stablecoin printer in the entire world?
Yeah.
Well, probably because they know exactly where this is headed.
Yeah.
All right, now another big investment that Cantor Fitzgerald has made is in this company, Strategy. You might have heard of them, formerly MicroStrategy. They've gone ahead and changed their name because they're all in Bitcoin now. Now, at this point, we know that Cantor Fitzgerald took a massive investment into Strategy. We don't know exactly how much ownership, about $1 billion just in Q4 of 2024, so very recent. So if you think Strategy is not a good play, well, you might want to go talk to Lutnick because he just put $1 billion in last quarter.
Damn.
He obviously understands something about strategy that we don't. So now we have Lutnick inside the U.S. government, the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, making massive investments, $1 billion investment into Strategy, $600 million investment into Tether, because they know exactly what's going on. But here's where things even get more shocking. As Commerce Secretary, Lutnick is working with the Treasury and the White House economic advisors to build not one, but two government-level Bitcoin programs.
Yeah.
First of all, they are building a U.S. sovereign wealth fund, of which potentially Lutnick will be in charge of. So Lutnick now will be directing the U.S. government to be investing money as part of a U.S. sovereign wealth fund. Now, what do you think that Lutnick might advise the U.S. sovereign wealth fund to buy? Well, if you're looking at this web, you might think Bitcoin, and you'd probably be right. The other plan that the government has put together is a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve. And of course, what would they be buying specifically? Well, it says it right in the name.
Bitcoin.
And that would be Bitcoin as well. So now we have Lutnick, CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, making billion-dollar investments into Strategy and into Tether, and as well as creating a $2 billion product around Bitcoin. At the same time, working inside the government to get the government to buy Bitcoin for both the U.S. sovereign wealth fund and a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now, what would the goal of all this be? Well, of course, if you can get the government to make it budget neutral, meaning that they don't spend any more money from taxes, then the direct cost to the public is none. But let's be real here. That's government code for financial engineering. But what do we really get here? Well, we get a man with power in both government and finance. We get a $1 trillion firm issuing Bitcoin-backed leverage. We get two of the biggest whales in crypto standing behind it. And we have a government quietly positioning itself to become Bitcoin's biggest holder. Now, look, this isn't some dream. This isn't some fragmented movement. This is a Bitcoin flywheel machine, a feedback loop machine, if you will. So how does this machine actually work, besides obviously putting all these pieces together? Well, what happens is, number one, is we get a capital injection into Cantor's play. So by Cantor Fitzgerald working with Wall Street and allowing Wall Street to bring that liquidity into the market without having to sell their Bitcoin, we have all this new capital entering the market. Now, all that new capital entering the market boosts their buying power without increasing the supply. So if we can do that without increasing the supply, that pushes the price up. That puts upward pressure on the price. But that's just the beginning. Step number two is then the market activity starts to surge. So all that fresh leverage, all that demand starts flooding in. Now we have traders, we have funds, we have whales starting to use borrowed capital to accumulate even more Bitcoin. Because, of course, they're all expecting the price to rise. Now, this increased buying activity pushes prices higher, just like we saw during previous bull runs, except for this time, the liquidity is coordinated from the top. Okay, the third part, step three, is we have major stakeholders starting to profit. And so as Bitcoin starts going up, we have companies here like Strategy holding 500,000 Bitcoin now. We have companies like Tether owning 84,000 Bitcoin, seeing the value of their holdings explode. Imagine as Bitcoin goes from 120, 150, 200, and MicroStrategy or now Strategy owns 500,000 of them. Now remember, as the value of their holdings goes up, so does their equity. And Cantor Fitzgerald owns both. They own Bitcoin and they own the company's equity. And so as the company's equity and their valuation goes up, then Cantor Fitzgerald gets, shall we say, a double dip. Now, step number four is institutional endorsement.
There we go.
So here's where it starts getting really interesting. You see, when the government, through the U.S. Sovereign Wealth Fund and the U.S. Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, as the government adoption enters the cycle through two potential moves, through this budget neutral strategy, meaning they're just reallocating money. But what it does is it creates this massive buy side demand. And more importantly, what it does is it signals Bitcoin is now a strategic national asset. What does that mean? Well, basically, when the U.S. signals full institutional backing of Bitcoin, it's not just the whales piling in anymore. Now it's pensions, it's endowments, it's corporations, it's other nations.
Yes, it is.
And that leads us to step number 5, which of course is institutional FOMO. So we have now Wall Street. Let's just bring them in here and let's put them at the middle. Now we have institutional FOMO. Now we have created a system that allows them to be okay putting money in with the government backing of this.
Yep.
They start piling in, which then continues to feed the flywheel.
Correct.
They buy more, they tap into Fitzgerald's debt. They get the debt, they bring more liquidity to market.
Yep.
The buying pushes the price up without bringing new supply to market,
Yes,
which then
sir.
brings the valuation of Bitcoin up. Then companies like MicroStrategy or Strategy and Tether see the valuation of their holdings go up as well as their stock go up at the same time, and we have a perfect flywheel. The momentum attracts.
So, Cliff, does this sound a bit like how money is created and it flows through the banks, and then the banks then turn around and lend out money to individuals, the leverage portion? Then you actually have um, banks creating mortgage-backed securities, and then those mortgage-backed securities then become more. These mortgage-backed securities become packaged together, and then they're sold to stock market, which legitimizes that investment and rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I mean it's something like that. I mean Bitcoin is unique. I wonder. I mean, I see what they're doing, right? They're saying that if there's demand for it, then everything's gonna go up. You can do lending on it. You can just hold it. The government's gonna be purchasing it, so that's gonna cause more demand in it. It makes sense. What I'm trying to look for is what's the beyond Bitcoin itself. Like Bitcoin, what you got? You got digits in your account. Cool.
Sure.
What is the function of Bitcoin that makes it valuable? Right now, it's scarcity and demand.
I agree with 100%. That's the importance of it being government backed. That legitimizes the entire asset. It now becomes a government backed asset. Sort of like the dollar, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could see it. I mean, but let's say you own 10 Bitcoin.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
You got an account with 10 Bitcoin. You're looking at it, look good.
Okay.
What can you do with it?
Well, with this system, because of the buy sell scenario, which is creating an asset like real estate to increase in value, as my Bitcoin goes up, I don't want to sell it. I just leverage against it.
Right.
And therefore I expand the money supply without expanding the money supply. If I'm leveraging, creating more debt that way, kind of like what the Federal Reserve does when they make money. There's no inflationary type of event. It's really a twist on modern monetary theory.
Yeah, but what I'm interested in is like you see big fluctuations in Bitcoin.
Sure you do.
So overall, you might see the trend go up. But I'm wondering, like when there was a huge during COVID, man, he was flying up. After COVID, we had a huge pullback, 50%.
Sure.
Right, of a pullback. So I'm trying to figure out what if you have 10 Bitcoin, the only thing what you really have is holding on to a non-productive asset. Like gold. It's like gold. I mean, but gold actually is productive. It has use cases.
Gotcha.
And that's what I've always tried to. I like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I think it has a use case,
Yeah.
or I think it has a purpose for, being able to hold it as part of a different asset class. I'm trying to find the functionality in it. Like, does it work with the insurance companies to be able to add a new product? How does it?
I'm glad. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you went there, Cliff. Now, remember what I'm unfolding is here's what Trump is doing, in my opinion, and I'm going to show a video of how money is actually created, literally now, and you're going to see what he's doing. If you look at it, guys, you see Donald Trump, the president, and the federal chairman, Powell, have been at odds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trump wants to lower the rates. Powell says no. We're gonna keep it stagnant. Keep it where it is right now. And I agree with that sentiment from the chairman of the Federal Reserve. I agree with him. I disagree with Donald Trump, right? Because of the amounts of printing that Trump did in his last year and throughout the entire Biden administration. There's a lot of printing. For example, 40% of all of the U.S. currency ever that was printed was done in the last 5 years, which is the last year of Donald Trump and 4 years with Biden. 40%. That's crazy town. So there's a lot of excess cash in the marketplace. That'll be kind of a fair assessment. So I understand when the Fed says I cannot lower the rates. But so Trump says, okay, I hear that. What if I rewrite the financial system or shadow the current financial system with a new financial system, right? With the foundation of Bitcoin, which will give me the ability to leverage, which would essentially allow for me to expand the money supply without expanding the money supply, and that whole thing is backed by the U.S. government. That is a brilliant move. And watch this. Just like when it comes to money being created, which you'll see in a second, it flows through the banking system. So does the Bitcoin play. As well. So now what happens is the bank is flushed with new capital, right? That didn't come from printing at all. It's a new source of capital without expanding the money base. So that there's not an inflationary event. What the bank does now is they have to now compete for the business, because now you have Wells Fargo has their coin, Chase does, Citigroup, PNC, every bank's gonna have their own coin. Now you may say, well, Dale, how does it work? Well, each coin is backed by the dollar.
It's like Tether.
It's on Tether, so it's backed by the dollar. And the government has effectively put down, they really ran out of business, all of the offshore blockchains. They're gone. Because the big boy's in town now, which is the U.S. government. Now, why they're the big boy? Cliff, out of all the cryptocurrencies in the world, 95% is done via the U.S. dollar.
Yeah.
He has effectively recreated the petrodollar, but from a digital standpoint. That's all he's done. So now you have the banks are able to what? They create their own coin backed by the dollar because the government blessed it. Now they can fractionally reserve lend not only just on the cash, but also on the cryptocurrency, which gives them the ability to create more products, more loans, which they can offer to their consumers. And then what happens is they then package those into mortgage-backed securities, which they then put that on the stock market, which then what happens is the pension funds acquire them. And they're going to your 401k, IRA, Roth IRA, 403bs, rinse and repeat. And you're not printing the money, you're creating the money because you're leveraging a play of an asset called Bitcoin, increasing in value. That's already traded at 95% of the entire world's currency. Now you have countries wanting to get in the game.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have a lot more demand. I don't doubt that. I think you have a lot more demand. You got me thinking I'm probably gonna start trading.
So now watch how money's created. Watch how money's created real quickly, and you tell me if my assessment makes some sense. If I'm wrong, bro, hey man, let me know. It's real quick. It's a real quick video. This is Mike Maloney.
Oh yeah.
It's Mike Maloney. Real quickly, he's a good guy. Cliff, look at this and let me know if this makes some sense.
Money doesn't grow on trees. But the truth is that the modern banking system creates currency far faster than trees can grow. Most people don't have a clue how currency is created. Economists and bankers make it sound so complex that people think they can't understand it. But I'm going to strip our monetary system down to its essence so that you can see the scam behind the curtain and just how it affects you. Every modern society creates currency in pretty much the same way. But since the US dollar is the majority of the world's currency, I'm going to use the United States as our example. It all starts when some politician says, vote for me and I'll make sure the government provides you more free stuff than my opponent will. But there's no such thing as a free lunch. So to provide that supposedly free stuff, the politicians vote for the country to spend more than its income. This is called deficit spending.
Right.
To pay for that deficit spending, the Treasury borrows currency by issuing a bond.
There we go. Security.
So what's a bond? If you think about it, a bond
That's
is
what
really
that's
nothing but
what,
a glorified IOU.
Tether
It's a
owns.
Yes. Now you're getting it.
pretty piece of paper with numbers printed on it that says, loan me $1 trillion today, and I promise over a 10-year period, I'm going to pay you back that $1 trillion plus interest.
Alone.
But what you need to understand is that Treasury bonds are our national debt. These glorified IOUs are to be paid back by you and I and our descendants through future taxation. Therefore, when the government issues a bond, it steals prosperity out of the future so that it can spend it today. The Treasury then holds a bond auction, and the world's largest banks show up and compete to buy part of our national debt and make a profit on it by earning interest.
Yep.
You'll notice that as we move through this process, the big banks are there, taking a cut every step of the way. This isn't by chance, as you'll see shortly. Then, through a shell game called open market operations, the banks get to sell some of those bonds to the Federal Reserve at a profit. To pay for the bonds, the Federal Reserve opens up its big old checkbook and writes bad, bogus, counterfeit checks that should bounce because they're drawn on an account that always has a zero balance. There isn't one penny in there. To quote from the Boston Federal Reserve, when you or I write a check, there must be sufficient funds in our account to cover that check. But when the Federal Reserve writes a check, there is no bank deposit on which that check is drawn. When the Federal Reserve writes a check, it is creating money. The Fed then hands those checks to the banks, and at this point, currency springs into existence. The banks then take that currency and buy more bonds at the next Treasury auction.
Yes, sir. More
But
debt.
what is a check? A check is also an
debt.
IOU. When you write a check, you're making a note that says, here's my IOU for cash. All you have to do is go to the bank and pick it up.
Yep.
Now, it's very, very important that you understand this process because we're going to come back later and show you the devastating effect this has on you. The Treasury issues IOUs, bonds. The banks then buy those IOUs with currency. The Federal Reserve then writes IOUs, checks, and hands them to the banks in exchange for the Treasury's IOUs, the bonds. And currency is created. So what's really happening is the Federal Reserve and the Treasury are just swapping IOUs, using the banks as middlemen, and abracadabra, presto, currency magically springs into existence. This process repeats and repeats over and over again, enriching the banks and indebting the public by raising the national debt. The end result is that there's a buildup of bonds at the Federal Reserve and currency at the Treasury. This process is also where all paper currency comes from.
Yep.
The Federal Reserve and the government mistakenly call it base money because they didn't watch episode 1 of this series and they don't know the difference between money and currency. But I will correctly refer to it as base currency because it is not money. It is currency, and as we've learned, there is a big difference. Money has to be a store of value and maintain its purchasing power over long periods of time.
Right.
We learned in episode 1 that earlier in our history, our paper currency was just a claim check. It was a
So, Cliff, so far, man, what do you think about that?
Yeah, man, it's just, fundamentals of economics, right? So it's basically the whole game, the entire money system is, like he said, it's not real. They making fake money. The banks make fake money, and that's not even counting the money that the bank itself is creating. Whenever you try to go get a loan, ain't no money in that account. So you got two
Exactly.
places. Yeah,
Exactly.
but Bitcoin could do is hold everybody responsible.
Yeah.
Because as basically every time you see the government print money, buy Bitcoin. If you say, hey, the government's going to be going into a deficit, buy Bitcoin. Because the money is going to flow to an asset. And Bitcoins would be an obvious asset to do that.
And that's why he set up this whole thing. Do I think it's a good move temporarily? I do. Do I believe it's going to lead to inflationary effect in some form or fashion? Yes. Because an asset can't go up all the time. Now, Bitcoin is a little bit of a different unicorn because it's digitized money. It's crypto. I mean, how can crypto be inflated? I don't see how that could actually happen. Do you see that?
I mean, Bitcoin cannot be inflated. Other cryptocurrencies can be, right? Like Ethereum. Ethereum can be inflated. See, Ethereum's a little bit different. It can be inflated, and it has a use case because you can actually do development on top of Ethereum. So you can actually, you can code onto it so that it actually has, it's smart, right? It's smart
Gotcha.
money.
That makes
Um,
sense.
that's where I see a lot of what money could be in the future is the financial system of it,
Sure.
where buying and selling notes, buying and selling financial instruments becomes much easier, faster, simpler.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, they said that. Let me ask this question. We know how fractional reserve lending actually works,
mhm.
and mimicking that when it comes to Bitcoin. How, if the banks is able to not only use fractional reserve lending when it comes to money, but also via Bitcoin, Doc, which will force competition for consumers. If they're able to give out a better lending product from bank loans, auto loans, mortgage loans, credit cards, how do you think that do you think that this move would actually could actually lower down the mortgage rates?
The only way it would lower it down is if you have inflation drop, right? Inflation would have to be it would have to be very low, and they basically inflation would have to be so low that they almost need inflation. They need inflation in the system. Then they're going to drop mortgage rates to spur more spending.
Yeah, I agree with that. But again, let me take you back to Trump and Powell. They're at odds. Powell was saying, I need to see some more economic activity that I am confident in before I lower the rates. Would you agree?
Right. Yep.
Trump is saying, bump all that, player, go ahead and lower these rates down.
Right.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so Powell says no. So Trump says, okay, I'm going to create a shadow monetary system that mimics the one that you over, and it be on Bitcoin, and increase the money supply without increasing the money supply, float it through the banks, and allow for the banks to begin to be able to fractional reserve lending out loud and lend out via Bitcoin, because it's going to be government backed, the Bitcoin itself. So now they can actually drive more revenue or drive more transactions, which will force, because of the economic play, the Fed Chairman Powell to potentially lower down the rates because of the economic engine going on. Would you agree?
Mm. Yeah. But he's using basically he's kind of using gold, right? It's just the digital gold kind of same concept where you're
Correct.
going to lend against the gold that you have
Yes.
in order to try to create a more stable currency base.
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. I see him trying to do that to force Powell to have to lower the rates because of the economic engine behind what's going on. You'll see a uptick in car loans, a uptick in credit cards being taken out, a uptick business credit being done, uptick when it comes to mortgage rates. Also, he's looking to cut income tax and payroll taxes, remove additional regulations as well. Also, you have this is the reason why he did the tariff play, is he wants the U.S. to be the biggest exporter of product in the world. That's why he's making the environment more business friendly. Now you're seeing companies come back into the U.S. Now you're seeing other countries not doing any tariffs at all, because they don't want to face the tariffs that the U.S. actually has. He's really kind of put China in a corner. He really has. And I see,
Yeah.
Cliff. I see, man. If this does well, Cliff, this is what's going to happen.
Cut it, cut it, cut it,
The rates, Doc.
cut it.
Yeah.
Rates, baby. Cut them rates, man, because he's gonna have to do it. You agree? You disagree?
Yeah, he might. I mean, if you keep going the way he's going, if you force the system to try to use no more money printing, right? Use our own way of being able to. I see what you're saying. You buy basically you take the money that we have, start buying Bitcoin. Now you have a solvent asset. Then you lend against it.
But
Now you have a solvent way of actually using your assets,
here's the
right?
beauty, though. He didn't have to buy any new Bitcoin. All it did was take it from criminals
Right. Yep.
and put it in the federal in the reserve, digital Federal Reserve, and says, okay, someone give me money against this. That's all he's done.
Right.
And I'm like, he's created money out of nothing. He really has, Cliff. This is crazy, man. But I was like, remember running by Cliff, man, to make sure that, am I tripping, Doc? You see it, man? You just see it, you don't see it.
Well, it's the only thing is it's not money out of nothing, right? Because Bitcoin itself is zero. The only thing that happens is you put $1 in, now there's $1 of Bitcoin. You put $2 in, now there's $3 of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, when it has a market cap of $1 trillion, that just means there's $1 trillion in Bitcoin. So it's just dollars. It's just in a different form. So there's no new money being created. It's just converting $1 to a Bitcoin.
I agree, and the money's been done via debt because they're borrowing it.
Right, but that additional money is coming from out. It's not. So when, like you mentioned, the Commerce Secretary,
Yeah,
when his company borrows against Bitcoin,
yeah,
that's not new money. That's investors' money. They're
exactly.
lending back out. It's not like a bank that just out of nothing. This is actually having to come from investors.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's him actually rewriting the entire financial system, mimicking what's already there through Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, creating two reserve bases funds to where you house the said Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, right? And instead of printing money, he leverages that, borrows the money, right, to flow through the banks. The banks now have a cryptocurrency that's now blessed by the government, right? He's also having all of his entities, the IRS and other entities in the executive branch, to be able to rewrite the laws there, make amendments, cut taxes as well also, because cryptocurrencies has a history of being adversarial with the government. Trump is saying them days is over. It's gone. Now they're flowing it through the banking system, just like what the Federal Reserve does with money itself, right? Now what happens is not only can banks a fraction reserve money, but they can also use Bitcoin, right, as a way to leverage and fraction reserve from the government as well. He's created this whole thing out of thin air via just debt. That's what he's done. Which now what happens is now the banks can give out a more competitive, lower rate product when it comes to credit cards, mortgages, insurance companies do the exact same thing, or car loans, if that makes some sense, personal loans, all that's there, rinse and repeat. He's also cutting regulations, payroll taxes, income taxes, so that companies can begin to reinvest in the U.S. Now companies can actually get money at a more cheaper rate. What's going on? How you doing, Aaron? Good to see you, brother. So I just see this man. He is basically formulated an entire plan to force the Fed chairman to have to cut the rates because of the sheer volume of the market. Has to.
It makes sense. It makes sense. My whole thing is that Bitcoin is it's just a digital, like we say, it's a digital dollar, right?
Yes.
I think it has a lot of opportunity to it.
Yes, it does.
I think you have to research and figure out what can you do with programmable money.
Yes.
That is going to be the next big thing. Like if I got a Bitcoin and I want to pay you, cool, I sent you a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Great. Now you got a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I could have wired you the money, ACH it, sent you a check,
Sure.
Venmo. You know what I'm saying? There's so many options to do it. So outside of that, what does Bitcoin offer in terms of a tangible asset? Why would I choose that over a stock that actually has production, selling a product or a good?
Well, I would choose that because it's as an investor, I can do both because the government is backed by both. Institutional lender investors are buying both. Both of those securities are tied to my retirement and pension funds. I can do both. Do both.
Yeah, I mean, you got the option. So it sounds like what you're saying is the government that prints money is going to buy Bitcoin, which is going to artificially inflate Bitcoin. So be in Bitcoin and just ride it.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, here's the thing about it. They don't have to buy any new Bitcoin. They already have 500,000 worth of Bitcoin already. They don't have to do it. They took it from criminals. So he's not saying I have to go buy some. No, he said I already got it. We ain't selling no more.
Right,
I'm sitting on these boys, these assets now. I can leverage these assets now. Now he'll go to maybe the Federal Reserve or someone, or go to a country and say, "Hey, I'm gonna need for you to go ahead and leverage this."
Yeah. What's going to happen is there's going to have to be some regulation with this because the government's getting involved.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is the exchanges are going to become. It's like what I mentioned last time. That's where all of everything's going to take place. And the question is, I'm guessing that the Fed now is going to have the central exchange where you can
Yes.
exchange money, and now you're going to
Yes.
have all these applications of sending money easily
Yes.
accessible.
Yes.
Transferring money is from account to account becomes the simplest thing.
That's the reason why when Trump made his move, it effectively put the offshore blockchains out of business. Out of business. Because it's the government.
Right.
It's the government. And China tried to make this move. They created their own coin. Trump said, "Nah, your coin is BS. We're gonna own Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Other that has some value. And we determine what the value is. Why? Because we have the biggest consumer base on the planet. Now what? He has effectively made the Bitcoin and certain other cryptocurrencies the new petrodollar. Checkmate. Checkmate. Now see why he was so calm. Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, calm. Secretary of Treasury, calm. President Trump, they were all calm. Why? They knew this was the play.
Okay, then because they say the best way to make money off these trends is not necessarily like for California, you don't dig for gold, you sell the shovels.
There you go. Yes, sir.
So what you're telling me is the transaction volume on the crypto network is going to increase. So if that's going to happen, then you should own miners, own the things that actually are the exchanges for Bitcoin, because the government cannot own the exchange. It can't. It can have one path of it, but crypto and Bitcoin and everything else, that the reason why Bitcoin is what it is because it's the people's money, which means we own the actual servers the Bitcoin's being transacted on. The government can't do that. That means own servers, buy as many as you can now, because it's going to just keep cranking out new Bitcoin.
Correct. But that's one way, but also the leverage, we're in the leverage-based system. You cannot leverage your Bitcoin. Remember, they said don't sell your Bitcoin. Why? Because they want as much Bitcoin as they can to be in America. So people can leverage. The leveraging is the key, so they can continue to create money out of thin air with new debt via leverage. It's brilliant, man. It is brilliant. Brilliant. It's brilliant. But yeah, man. I want to run it by you, Cliff, man, and let me know what you think about it, man. To me, man, you're the most qualified person that I know when it comes to cryptocurrency to answer this question.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is I can understand the banking and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if you really thought about it, you could create your own bank, your own apps that store crypto.
You could.
Right? I mean, because the lending you're talking about is just an algorithm. So why can't I develop an app and an online website? It's not a bank, it's a crypto wallet. But it's basically the same thing. I can lend on it.
Yeah.
I can do exchanges on it. It's the same thing. So I think the infrastructure is going to be the main piece. And the question becomes, if I own 10 different cryptocurrencies, why do I own those? And what's the value of actually owning one crypto versus another? You got to look at the use case.
I agree. This is going to be very interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting, man. So guys, again, stuff is coming in fast and hot. I believe what's going to happen. This is going to be a bounce back. Yeah. This is going to be a bounce back time for us, man. This move to me is a boss move, man. And Fed Chairman Powell, man, cut it.
Cut it.
Yeah.
Cut it.
Cut it.
Cut them rates.
Cut it.
Come on, man. Stop playing. Cut the damn rates, man. But anyways, guys. But guys, before we end, guys, real quickly, guys. Hey, guys, again, something a little bit different. This, guys, is our distressed property ebook, guys. Most of the time when it comes to this, guys, we always ask Liddell, can you and Cliff train us on how to invest in real estate? The answer is always yes, guys, but we have a different philosophy on how we want to train. We actually want to give away free ebook. In order for you to be able to take advantage of this new debt that's going to come out, that I think is going to be a lot cheaper, you need to learn how to locate distressed properties in your city, county, or state, right? You have a licensed appraiser on the screen, right? And also an investor, and you have a private banker on the screen and also an investor on the screen. I mean, we would have killed to have someone like this in our backyard. Would it be right, Cliff?
Oh yeah, man. The way we had to go about it, we had nobody helping us figure it out on our own.
Nobody. It's just, guys. It's it's free. We don't want nothing from you at all, guys. Nothing at all. Our big philosophy is we want to give out information for free as much as we can, guys. Now, with that being said, I want to do a little something different, guys. Boom, here we go. Guys, it's real simple. Just scan on the QR code or click on the link below in the show notes, guys, and go download our free ebook. It's how you can find, locate, right, and structure and close on a distressed property in your city, county, or state. We talk about probably the best partner you can actually have when it comes to real estate is your local city. That's talked about in the book. These are actual notes from a masterclass that Cliff and I actually did. These are notes. We walk through the whole thing. Cliff, am I right, Cliff? Am I wrong?
Oh yeah, it's giving you detailed information about everything we discussed. Your first couple of steps, man. It's an introduction. You know what I mean? You got to learn a little bit before you get started, and this is your first step in doing that.
Yes. Again, it's free. Don't want nothing from you else. Want to get you the information. Scan on the QR code below, right there on the screen, or you can go to show notes and click on that. But you must say, Dad, I can't do none of that. Don't you worry, your partner's got you, man. Do me a favor real fast, guys. Hey, direct message me the word real estate, right? DM me that word, real estate, on no matter what platform you're on, and our team will get you out the exact same link. All right, guys, very simple. And guys, again, you have a licensed appraiser on the damn screen, a commercial and residential, right? And he can go nationwide if he needs to. Don't you worry about it at all. Cliff, tell them about what's going on with you, big dog.
Man, just go to hunterappraisal.com. So we're doing right now, we're primarily in Texas, but we can go nationwide. We also do consulting. So we're starting to do a little bit of that for new construction. People are looking at doing their first flip. Actually working with some banks to actually kind of coordinate with them about how values are looking into the future. So we're doing some projections. So, but go to the website, fill out the application, get in contact with me. Someone on my team will follow up and we'll get you squared away. Real simple, guys.
Hunterappraisal.com, guys. Hunterappraisal.com. Go check them out, man. Again, you don't know how good you have to actually have an appraiser on the screen. You just don't know. You still know. But hey, it is what it is. But guys, Cliff, you want to say anything, man, before we end, brother?
Man, you already know. One deal away. Take your first step. Man, you won't regret it. I promise you. Work with us on your first deal so we can make sure we get it right.
Again, guys, I got to say it one more time for the folk in that row. Go download this free ebook. It is damn free, which you have to lose but time. But guys, thanks so much for your time. God bless you guys. You know how to end every single time before you leave while you can, baby. You see that thing. Take the picture for your mama and them. Holla at your partner. God bless you guys. See you next week, guys. All right, y'all. Peace.
Okay, so you did fixes and flips first, or were they? Now it sounds like you're more buy and hold. Okay, so you're wholesale first.
Okay, because I was broke. I had no credit. I had no money. So I had to get some money coming in. So I learned how to do wholesale.
And you were doing wholesaling at the good time too.
2000.
When it wasn't so saturated. There was.
I kind of saw the debacle coming.
Okay.
It didn't make any sense. I was like, wait a minute, how can you lend out to retail buyers 99.7%?
Yeah.
Just a little bit of a down tick, it's insolvent.
And you got to remember, in some states, because I lived in Florida at the time, you could have loan to value above 100% of your property.
Right.
The first property that I bought, it was 110%. We left the bank with like $30,000.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
It was amazing to me. I was like, why am I not doing this all the time? But then clearly 08, 09 let me know why people shouldn't have been doing that all the time.
08, 09, that's why I made that lion's share of my money.
Wow.
People
Okay.
were actually running from the cows. I was running to it.
Of course.
Because I saw it was coming.
Okay.
A lot of my business colleagues back then were buying flippers.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was wise for me to share 50% of my profit with Uncle Sam. He didn't do no work.
Okay.
So why would I give him free money?
Of course.
Okay, how can I make sure I'm still legal, but keep the lion's share of the cash flow?
Of course.
So I began studying the tax code with my accountants and CPAs, and I said, okay, I'm going to buy a whole lot of properties. Now watch this. I actually buy a lot of properties. I take home money when I actually acquire it. Every single time.
Okay, you need to break that down just a little bit.
If you wanted to know how successful real estate investors make money when they acquire real estate and not when they sell it, click on the link below or swipe up and download our free ebook, Distressed Property Investing. The blueprint is in the ebook. Stay blessed, holla at your partner, and download the ebook today.
Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Bless God, give thanks. Big God, big grace.